All right, I'm Troy Williams, the Executive Director of Equality Utah, and we are the state's LGBTQ political advocacy organization.
I'm Lisa Barlow. I am owner of Vida Tequila, native of New York, Utah living for over 15 years now. Strong supporter of our Equality Utah and the LGBTQIA community.
That's right. We were so excited. So the staff of Equality Utah, when we found out that you were cast in this show, we were so excited because you've been a huge supporter of ours, and so we were thrilled to sort of watch you on the little screen and just see your beauty just emanate. So congratulations on being a real housewife.
Thank you. For the first time in my life, I'm a housewife.
What's that been like for you? I mean, overnight people are talking about you, and
I'm still processing everything. It's such a big change because we're very private. You know, the New York side of me is very guarded, and then I let people in when I'm ready. And so just to have myself out there like this, it's different, it's changed, but I think it's good. And what I'm really excited about is it gives me the opportunity to use my platform and my voice to help others. And maybe, the whole reason I did this was hopefully to inspire people to be their most authentic selves.
Love it, love it. That's so cool. So I've been reading all the media. What is this Mormon 2.0 stuff? That's what everyone's talking about you.
I think I love the LDS church. So I converted with my family in New York. The Mormon missionaries knocked on our door, worked with our family, my parents primarily, for over a year. And, my dad can tell his own story, but he wasn't open to it at first. And my mom was like, I've been praying for you. I'm praying for, we always joke, praying for two boys. But she's always had a strong love of God and this really spiritual side. We think our mom is on a consummate eat, pray, love journey. And she instilled that in us kids. And one thing that I loved about the way I grew up is my parents were overly inclusive. We weren't allowed to talk badly about anybody. It was show love. My mom loved to take people in. I have 4 sisters and a brother, but really I have more siblings than that because my mom, her heart is so big. She took everybody in.
Yeah, she was that house on the corner that all the misfits felt like they could come to.
My mom was the mom outside with the pool with the speakers blaring and everyone dancing, but it was a place of where you felt love and included. And she, my mom's a warrior. She likes to fight for people.
Right.
So, it's exciting. I think it's amazing that I have this opportunity. I understand it's a rare one. I understand it's a gift in a way because then we get to tell people our stories, but then help people on their journeys too. And I hope that out of everything that's happening, it's aspirational, inspiring, and hopefully my story, being Mormon 2.0, gives people the courage to live authentically. So when I say that, being an LDS member of the church, no one really knew that before Bravo. I think you guys didn't even know.
You own a tequila company.
Yeah. And so I think it's forging our own paths. So for me, it's, I don't fit in the box. I don't check off all the boxes, but it doesn't make me less than. It makes me me. And I think for people to understand that it's okay to just be yourself. It's okay to be LDS, own an alcohol brand, own multiple alcohol brands. I'm still a good mom. I'm still a good person. I still have the same good heart, and I'm still going to love everybody the same way. And I think, if you want to get a little churchy, there's nothing in the teachings of Christ, I go to the Church of Jesus Christ, that say, you're not allowed to sit with me. You're not allowed to be here. And I think, everything evolves, and some things evolve more quickly and some things take a little longer. But I think there's been great strides in how all churches, not just the LDS church, are with inclusion of our gay communities, which is super important. And that's something I think for me and you to have a conversation on and to educate people what is happening, what change is happening, where we go from here, and what we can all do to make sure we don't stop.
Yeah. I always, we live in a very conservative state. We live in a very religious state. And I kind of believe that God or whatever kind of divine force you believe in really sends LGBTQ babies into conservative religious households just to teach everybody to love more than they knew they could, right? And so we are all on this little mission together, right? And I go way back. My great grandfather lived in Nauvoo, and came with Brigham Young across the plains and settled in Ogden, and here I am, this, queer ambassador to the state. Well, yes, thank you so much. So it is part of who we are. It's in our DNA, and it's so important as we become so polarized as a country that we sit down together with people who think differently from each other and realize what we have in common, how we can connect with each other.
100%.
And so at Equality Utah, we are the political advocacy arm of the LGBT community in the state. So we go up to Capitol Hill and we have hard conversations with lawmakers, with the governor, and other stakeholders, and we are really successful at advancing pro-LGBTQ legislation. So yes, and this is what people don't know about Utah, even though the legislature here is 90% Latter-day Saint. And the state overwhelmingly, majority LDS, we consistently pass pro-LGBTQ bills through our Republican-controlled legislature.
I love this.
So in 2015, we passed employment and housing non-discrimination. We had a law on the books that prohibited school teachers and students from even talking about gay issues in the classroom. In 2017, we overturned that.
Amazing.
2019, we passed an LGBTQ inclusive hate crimes law, and then in January of this year, 2020, Utah became the 19th state to ban conversion therapy. For LGBT kids.
Amazing.
So this is happening in this super conservative space. And so the governor is super Latter-day Saint, and yet we're able to move this positive legislation forward because we're able to have respectful dialogue, because we're able to come to the table. We don't agree on everything.
Exactly.
And we do not agree with everything with the LDS Church on issues about marriage equality or gay families or transgender issues. But we're always in dialogue with each other.
The conversation has to keep happening
Always.
because that's how change happens.
Yes.
Through, a lot of times we formulate our opinions based on our feelings, and those feelings come from emotion, from experiences.
Yes.
So we have to share our experiences so people can feel why this is important and understand why maybe it's not as important for them, but it's important for us and for our communities.
And I don't think anybody who knows has a Mormon neighbor or a Latter-day Saint neighbor, Latter-day Saints are kind people. So, I don't ever believe that Latter-day Saints hate LGBT people. I believe sometimes that there's just fear that people have, scared about the way the world is changing rapidly. And often what it takes is just us having the courage to sit down together and open up our hearts to each other.
Exactly.
And then when we do that, then those fears begin to dissipate, and we start to have that kind of empathic connection with each other, and then we realize oh, wait a minute, maybe this my gay nephew or my gay aunt or my transgender uncle is someone also who has value and beauty and belongs.
Exactly,
right?
And that's so important.
Yeah.
Growing up, my father's dad, my grandfather is gay. He's since passed away. And for us, it was super important. You love everybody. I love that I asked after my grandfather passed away, I had a conversation with his friends and family members, and I'll get emotional.
Yeah, that's right.
But just hearing their perspective on what a beautiful child.
Did you know he was gay?
Yeah, I figured it out in 7th grade.
Wow.
Yeah, we're in Miami, and we're Dad, Grandpa's gay, because he married 2 women and died with a boyfriend, long-term relationship. But I'm Dad, Grandpa lives in Miami and is wearing a banana hammock in Versace. Grandpa is gay. That's his boyfriend. And my dad was at first confused, I think, because but then he was cool. And a lot of things made sense to him. And when my grandfather's Frankie, when he came out, it for us, it was such a big deal for him. He was so subtle about it. He didn't make a big deal. But, he had a long-term partner before he passed.
Wow.
And I'm just happy that he got to live his authentic self. And, my dad, I think it's important for my dad to feel like Frankie gets to keep being authentic through me.
Right.
Sorry.
Right. Yes.
I think it's so important that people are loving and accepting. you know, and like it was such a different time back then, but now we have the opportunity to have change and like to make everyone feel welcome. Like even when I said Mormon 2.0, I think it made people upset at first because it's change, right? It's like saying she's not a perfect Mormon, but she's still okay with herself and still going to church. It's the same thing with all of our subcultures and groups and stuff. And I mean, eventually I hope it's just like that we're just being, just living, and there isn't any labels on it.
Yeah.
Which I think is important.
We have, I don't want to get, we have a lot of work to do still left in the state, right?
Yes.
And we know that in Utah, suicide is the leading cause of death for young people, and those numbers have spiked. There's lots of reasons for that. I think social media plays a major role in that as well.
So we have to be very careful with our messaging and the words that we're saying, using, and putting out to identify people, or to even, don't typecast people. I think that's important.
Yeah, so true. And our kind of philosophy here at Equality Utah is we have to create this radical sense of belonging, that every young person has to know that they belong in this state. They belong in our families, they belong in our churches, in our government, in our laws. We've got to make sure that we do everything so that they know that this is their home.
I love that. And that's why it's so important for me to have this conversation with you with such a big production coming to our state. Housewives is known globally. I think it's important for people to know, come to Utah. We love you. We want you here.
Yeah. And here's like the fun little stats about Utah. So we are, according to the Gallup survey, Salt Lake City proper is the 7th gayest city in America.
That's amazing.
Okay, so we're gayer than Manhattan and we're gayer than Los Angeles.
Okay, that's insane.
Yeah.
I did not
know
that.
Per capita,
wow.
right.
Wow.
So that's super gay. We have 3 out gay city council members. We used to have a lesbian mayor here in town. And then the Census Bureau just came out for 2020 that Utah is the 3rd highest rate of same-sex couples that are married in the country per capita.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so we're just like this super queer-friendly state.
We love it.
And I just see so many great things happening. And for me, back to some of the kind of the history of where we got to where we are. In 2009, the LDS Church was very active in California trying to pass Proposition 8, which was a marriage equality prohibition. And it passed. And there was so much anger and acrimony in the state because of that. We were protesting and we're having really hard conversations with the legislature and the governor. And this group of Mormons called me up in 2012 and they said, "Hey Troy, we want to come march in the Pride Parade on a Sunday morning wearing our church clothes and with our scriptures."
I love that.
And I was like, "Oh, have you ever been to a gay Pride Parade before? I don't know how that's going to go." And there was so much anger. I was worried that they wouldn't be welcomed. But Dustin Lance Black, who's this Mormon gay screenwriter, he wrote the movie Milk, which is the Harvey Milk story with Sean Penn. He was our Grand Marshal, and we were like, well, maybe we bring all the Mormons to the front of the parade and we'll march with them.
I love
And
this.
300 active Latter-day Saints showed up in their Sunday clothes, and we marched down the parade route, and everyone was just crying. Lance and I were crying, the crowd was crying, the Mormons were crying, and I realized this is how we create change.
I love it.
We create change by loving each other and letting everyone know that you belong, that everyone belongs. Yes, the Latter-day Saints belong in the Pride Parade. Yes.
Yep.
Right.
And vice versa.
And vice versa.
Yep.
And so we have to hold on to that, because right now everything in our country is telling us not to like each other. Right? We are so polarized. Republicans hate Democrats, and everyone's just at each other all the time on social media. We got to stop that.
Yep.
We all belong.
I
We're
love
all
that.
Americans. We're all Utahns, and everyone deserves to have their place here.
100%. I love that. And I think it's really important for everyone to see that we're trying and we're doing our best and we're not going to stop.
Right.
Yeah. And get involved. I think more people they don't understand how to get involved. How would they get involved with Equality Utah?
Yeah, well, we have these awesome events, and of course with COVID,
we love your events.
Yeah, I know. Yes,
they have Vita Tequila.
Yeah, they always do. And those events will be back in action. But if you go on to equalityutah.org, you can sign up for our newsletter. You can see what's happening with the legislature, and we need
key
people.
things happening. What's happening?
Yeah. So right now we are really we're still very concerned about suicide rates with with young people.
What can I do to help with that?
Well, the most important thing is that we need to teach parents, even if you are a Latter-day Saint and your child comes out, if you reject that child, they will be 8 times more likely to get involved with drug use, to contemplate suicide. So even hold on to your faith. Don't have to abandon your faith, but don't reject your child.
100%.
Right? Whether they're gay or transgender, don't reject them. Love them. They may make choices that are different from what you want for them. But if you love them regardless, they will always be part of your life. But if you alienate them, you may not see them again. And that's a risk.
That's so important to hear. That's so important to hear.
Yeah.
Unconditional
love, right? And I feel like, Latter-day Saints get this. I grew up Mormon in Oregon, and believe me, when I came out as a Mormon, that was a little bit more shocking to people than coming out as gay, right?
Yeah.
And people were like, what? And so what it's like to be on the margins outside of Utah. And so whenever we see people on the margins of a society, how do we expand our circle to welcome them in?
What are some tips?
Well, first off, this is the hard thing. You've got to let go of your bias of what you think someone's life should be like. Latter-day Saints believe in free agency, right?
Yep.
Okay, and so you've got to really live that, right?
Yes.
And you've got to allow people
Let everyone
on
be
their
themselves.
journey, right?
Yes.
Which I think is intrinsic to the core of the doctrine and theology. It truly is. So we've got to really sort of open up and allow people. Don't be afraid of difference. Don't be afraid of
Embrace it.
Right.
Embrace change.
Right. Because Latter-day Saints, when you I always think we have a lot in common. Like the gay folks and the Mormons, we love parades.
Yes.
Okay, all right. They got the Days of 47 parade. We've got our parades. They love pageants, right? We love pageants. They're a little different. Our pageants are a little different, but we love these things.
Yes.
But we also know what it's like historically to be persecuted for being different.
Yes, I love that.
Right? And so we've got to be able to sort of see what we have in common.
Exactly.
We've got to figure out what our shared values are.
And I think for a lot of people, I'm a convert and my family converted, but you have to be willing to think that just because this is changing doesn't mean everything else you believe in is wrong.
Right.
Things can change and everything else can still be true, or parts of it can be true.
Yeah.
And things be open to that. Be mindful of that and be open to change.
Yeah, that's it.
Because I think a lot of people are afraid if this is different, then all of that is wrong.
Yeah.
And no, that's not the case.
Everything will unravel,
yes,
right?
it will unravel.
Right.
Yeah, we're not unraveling.
Yeah.
Not yet.
And it's so much more exciting, to sort of welcome people who have different points of view, different skin colors, different orientations and identities. It's welcome that. That's the kind of beautiful, that kind of diversity of thought and of humanity is what makes life so exciting.
It is. It
right?
absolutely is.
So let's not be afraid of that. We create these little monocultures, right? Our little bubbles, where everyone looks like me, thinks like me, acts like me. Let's move beyond that fearlessly.
Yeah, I like my bubble to be diverse.
Right, of course you do. Of course you do, right? So that's it. So
I love that.
It's exciting times for all of us.
Exciting.
And as we, as we have these moments, I think one of the interesting things about the coronavirus is it shows us how connected we are to each other. It's this scary thing, but everybody in the planet is facing the same fear right now. That we're all in it. We're all in this together.
We are.
And our fortunes are really dependent upon our ability to work together, to lift each other up, especially those who are on the margins, especially those who are most vulnerable.
I love that you just said that. Build each other up, lift each other up,
We
help
need
each
to.
other. That's what everything's all about.
Yeah.
That's what we should all be focusing on. And it's super important right now. I'm excited. I'm excited to do more with Equality Utah.
Yes.
And, I encourage everyone to do your homework, research in your own state, in our state. Figure out what you can do to be inclusive and helpful.
Yes.
I always tell my kids it starts with something simple, like seeing someone at school. I'm like, you don't have to do a lot. Really, it doesn't take much. You see someone at school that maybe is different, that kids are acknowledging that. Give them a high five. Just be like, yo, I think you're amazing.
Yeah.
Just those little words can change everything. I know that's happened for me. I know just one word from a teacher or a peer or someone I admired, it can change your life. I am where I am. today because of that. You know, I love being LDS, but I also love doing it my own way. And
Yep.
I love that we have this inclusiveness
Yeah.
and this relationship, and I want to further develop it and get more people involved,
Yeah.
engage more people. And I just encourage everyone to be authentic. Like,
I love that.
be
Love it.
you. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's no one else we'd want to be but
Right,
ourselves.
right. Everybody else is taken, right?
Yeah, everyone else is taken.
Yeah, and you know what I love about the whole Housewives franchise is, you know, there's always the drama and the fights and everything, but what they showcase are, you know, 6 powerful women who are living their lives without apology.
Yes.
And that is so exciting.
It is.
right?
It's so exciting, and everybody's so different.
Yeah.
So it's like a little something for everyone.
Right.
And we're just hoping that, like, you find something about someone that you can
Right.
relate to or that resonates with you, and then we do more and we build more bridges, and we like are
Yeah.
happy and helpful.
I think it was Screen Rant that had you as like the number 2 most likable.
Oh, really?
And I'm
I
like,
hope that
she's
stays
number
that
1
way.
for me, but I think Meredith was number 1, but
Oh,
yeah, well,
people
we
have us
can-
confused.
Yeah,
so maybe it was me.
maybe.
That is the funniest thing to me. I'm like, I wonder why I think we look so different, but I think she's beautiful. So if I'm going to get compared to anyone, please say Meredith.
Yes.
But I'm like, maybe it's our Jew genes,
Right,
coming out strong.
And I just need to know, how do I get invited to a Jen Shaw party?
Oh my gosh, ain't no party like a Jen Shaw party, because a
What?
Jen Shaw
What?
party don't quit. All you have to do is text Jen. We will do that immediately.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
It's gotta
because
happen,
Jen
Jen.
Shaw is amazing, and Jen Shaw is very, very supportive of our LGBTQ communities, like beyond supportive,
Yeah.
as well as Meredith Marks. She's been doing it for years.
Yep.
Meredith and I have been friends for, oh my gosh, almost a decade, and she has always been super supportive of our
Yeah.
LGBTQIA communities, and it's exciting.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
you know, it's so nice to be a part of a franchise that is inclusive and
Right.
supportive and goes beyond to hit that home.
Yep.
Like, they want everyone to feel it.
When we banned conversion therapy in Utah in January, Andy Cohen was one of the first people to give us a shout out
I
nationally.
love that. I
for
saw
the-
that on Watch What Happens Live. I
Yeah.
was like, yes, Utah.
Thanks, Andy. Appreciate
But we're
it.
surprising people. I
Yeah.
mean, just the number adoptions with same-sex couples. Like,
Yep.
isn't that like?
Yeah. It's-
Tell me a little bit about
Yeah,
this.
so Salt Lake City has, this is according to the Williams Institute, Salt Lake City proper has the highest percentage, the number 1 highest percentage rate of same-sex couples raising children
I love
in the
this.
country.
I love this. In
Salt
the
Lake
country.
City, yeah.
Salt Lake City in the
Yeah.
country.
Yeah.
Say that
That's
one
right.
more time.
Yeah, so Salt Lake City has the highest percentage of same-sex couples raising kids in the country.
Take that, everybody.
Right,
else.
that's right. That's Utah. It's Utah for you. So,
But I love these
yeah.
stats, and it's important to understand them and be encouraging and get involved.
Yeah, for sure. So that's it. So
Yep.
Lisa, thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm so happy we're here. I love
Yes,
you.
I love you.
I love your whole team.
All
too.
right. Well, I cannot wait to see what happens
Yeah.
next on the show.
Oh,
So
honey, it's good.
it's gonna be good. It's gonna be
I'd
good.
spill the tea, but I'll get in trouble.
Okay, no spoilers.
Maybe when the camera's off.
Okay, excellent. All right. Well,
Yeah, thank
let's
you
do this
so
again.
much. I want
Okay.
to. Thank
All
you,
right.
guys. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mwah.